Did not see that coming.
Exactly.
Too much fun.
Dennis, my friend,
Hello.
here we are back again.
Here we go.
It's the Thanksgiving episode.
Yes.
I'm thankful for you.
One of the busiest bar days in the U.S.
What, Thanksgiving or Black
Wednesday, the night before.
Oh, really?
All across America, people are returning to their hometowns.
Oh, right, to get wasted.
Running into all their friends at their historic watering holes. I did it for all my life when my parents were alive, and I would go back there every holiday. It was crazy out. We had so much fun.
Well, I mean, you got a party before the thanks, I guess.
Well, and I guess you're not following the NFL, but tomorrow it's the Bills against the Lions, which are my two teams, and they're playing here at home. And there's no one predicting that the Lions win, but nobody predicted they'd win last week either, and they did. They crushed a team at home. First time they won an away game in over 3 years.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
I cannot.
That's a terrible record, isn't it? Haven't won an away game since 2019 or some such shit.
Well, I mean, there was a pandemic, if you wanted to blame it on that, but yes.
No.
I also have football played with the feet news.
Right. With Saudi Arabia beat Argentina in an upset.
Yes, my Argentinian friends are, well, let's just say I've been mocking them. But extra news since then that you may not have heard of. But let's...
what is it? Well, just tell me the news.
Well, the news is that Spain fucking destroyed Costa Rica this afternoon, 7-0.
Ooh.
That's like they had a touchdown with the extra point, right? It's like, what? That's you almost never get to a score in international soccer that you need more than one hand to. So that was kind of amazing.
But then there's the problem that you can't use your hands.
It's true. You have to use your toes on your feet to say the score. That's true.
Right.
Well, good point, Dennis.
Hey, I know my sports.
Well,
I coached a soccer team as you. I never knew the rules, still don't, but I was a coach.
Well,
I just told them to get the ball from the other guy when they had it, kick it in the net.
Yeah, my son loves soccer, except for the part where somebody else comes to try and take the ball from him. He doesn't like that part. So basically, he wants to be a professional penalty kicker. We're like, don't touch my ball.
Do they have those?
I'm going to kick it. No, they don't.
Oh,
sadly.
Well, there you go. Ruined career.
Oh, well, he'll have to find another mode of employment.
So I will tell you on the and so what happens next with Spain? Let's finish that thought. Who they play?
I think Spain is
Saudi
in
Arabia?
a group with Germany and Japan. So Germany played Japan today, which I thought was kind of like, oh, look, it's the World War II enemies. And
what do you think about all the controversy of the slave labor? Did you read or hear about the slave labor that built all the stadiums and the hotels? You know, they built a city.
Yeah.
10 years ago, there wasn't a city.
Yeah.
And they used slave labor immigrants from other countries. And
oh, yeah. It's a shit show. The
decrepit conditions.
Yeah, and but we knew this when Qatar was labeled as
Selected, sure.
the city, and also they have no alcohol allowed and no I don't know if they are enforcing the covering of women's heads or something, but they're
Well, they don't let
they're being
anybody
very
drink. You
yeah.
know, it's and of all people, Morgan Freeman was one of the people that opened the ceremony. He's under a shit of fire, particularly for somebody that played Nelson Mandela. I mean, it's like, how much did they pay you? You know, I mean, what prompted you? I mean, what are you, a big, huge fucking soccer fan? Or I'd like to get the
I did
backstory
not
on that.
hear that corner of the angle, but
And they show him with a Arab who apparently doesn't have any legs and it looks like a torso on the stage, or like he's standing in a hole cut through the floor of the stage, but as it turns out, he
right.
doesn't have any legs. And so the picture I saw, which I want to know more about too, is that Morgan Freeman, when he ended up talking to him, there's a picture of him, Morgan Freeman, laying on the floor sideways with his head propped up, like he's watching television, talking to the guy at his level.
Oh no!
Which I thought was good. It looked like exactly the right thing to do.
Yeah, but questionable. I don't know. I have not seen any of that, and I will look for that to maybe put in the show notes if I can find it, but maybe not.
So I need hazard pay for tonight's show.
Hazard pay?
I got my second shingle shot yesterday in my right arm, so lifting my scotch is very painful. I also got my flu shot on my left arm.
But you've been doing roofing, so...
Been doing what?
You've been working on roofs, so your shingle shot.
Oh.
No?
Huh. No, I did. I was working on a lady's windows. You know the story, and I broke the glass. I was ready to put it all back together again about a half hour from having the job almost completely done.
Yeah.
And I had just cleaned the storm window, 2 panes of glass to put back up. That was the next thing. And so as I leaned it against the iron fence, the chain link fence, a little gust of wind blew and it lifted a little bit. And I said, oh, that's dangerous. I should either put it in the garage or I'll just lean it a whole lot more.
Right.
So I leaned it a lot more and then got up on the ladder and a real big gust of wind hit it and blew it and shattered a pane of glass that was, I don't know, 28 inches by 30 inches big.
Yeah.
And so I had to clean up the glass and get the frame cleaned up, take it to the hardware store, get it measured, get the glass put in, pay for it, wait 10 days, get it, then I go back and it won't fit. It won't fit. And it's off an eighth of an inch, so there's a gap, and that lets in cold air. And it makes no sense. I do everything I can to figure out, and then I realized that the frame that I'm putting it into is the problem. The window I'm putting in is square.
Uh-huh.
And so I loosened 2 screws on the aluminum frame, and that allowed this window to go in and fit when I gave it a little bit of a thump with my hand. And what that window did was it changed the way the frame was sitting on the sill, just a hair. And then when I put the 2 new screws in, the screws were just a little to the right of where they had been. And
so success.
Fixed. Did that for free.
Well done. Well done. Thus concludes Dennis's pain
So and I sent her. I
story.
sent the owner the email. It said window pane, PAIN.
Nice.
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
it. That's a pun.
And she said,
Pain pun.
yeah, well, yeah. When you come to replace the window, I think something happened that there was a effect of some chipped paint on the inside of the house. And I
Right.
wrote her back. The first version of it said, yeah, that's probably when I was slamming the window in that didn't quite fit with my big rubber mallet. And I put my whole weight behind it, and it worked. I got it jammed in there perfect because you want a tight fit. I didn't say any of that. I said, oh, well, that happens sometimes when you're, when you're trying to get a piece of
I
wood.
was jamming your window.
That you gotta tap it. I said, tap it with a hammer.
Tap it.
I was hitting this wall so hard, I was giving it a full swing, which I couldn't now. My shoulder is fucked up from this shot. I can't believe it. Oh. And this one is like a regular hurt, and I'm so thankful for it.
Yes.
Right?
For
so the flu, she said, well, you're getting 2 shots, shingles and flu. Which arm you wanted? And I said, I don't think it really matters to me, but I think it's in different arms. And she said, okay, well, let's go with the left arm for flu.
Yeah.
Because you remember FLU, and it's your left arm, and then you remember that that's the side with your flu shot. And I said, well, I hate to say this, but you're giving me a lot more credit that I'm due, that you think somehow I'm going to remember all that. I don't really care which arm you put it in. And besides, your acronym doesn't work very well.
It's like fuck
it's
left
second
you.
letter. And I said, what you should say, and excuse me, but you should say, my fucking left arm. You
Fuck
put in the
left
shot
arm.
my fucking left arm. And her reaction, she thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Put her head back with a big, deep-throated laugh and said, I wish I could say that. I don't think corporate would like it. I don't imagine. And then she stuck the shingles in the other one, and I said, oh, Jesus, that hurt more than the other one. She said, I'm sorry. I said, if it weren't for these shots, you wouldn't have a job. She said, oh, yes, I would. I don't enjoy this any more than you do. And I said, all right, well, I'm going to build an acronym for shingles. And it's sucking hot insert. And she cut me off, and she said, you got to go. Here's your
Sucking
paperwork.
hot insert glorious.
And forgot the end. Searing hot insert. No. Go lose at sucker.
Okay, well, we're gonna work.
That's easy to remember. I should write her a note.
So we're gonna workshop that. So last time I left us, I was thinking,
in the lurch.
oh, I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to have all this free time to like watch whatever that show is that we're watching. And I'm going to just like have all this free time. And turns out I was busy as fuck.
Never had free time. What was the
London.
show we were? The Affair?
Yes, The Affair.
Yeah.
So like I had all of that downloaded, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have all this free time on the plane and blah blah blah, and turns out not so much. So I just got back from a week in London,
right?
Which is
how was it? How was the weather? How was the weather, mate?
The weather was quite nice, mate.
It wasn't raining, eh?
There was one day where it was raining, but I was not out in it.
Well, rain through the window can be soothing in a way.
So
the drip, drip, drip soothe your nerves. It gets on some people's nerves, not mine. I found it soothing.
So I actually bought a brand for the northern Spanish winter. I recently bought a new umbrella, and I thought, I I will cleverly take this with me when I go to England. And I did, and I never
And you
used
lost it.
No, I didn't lose it. Like, I had it in my suitcase the whole time. But
Oh, it folds small, huh?
yeah, so I went for the first couple days. I stayed with some friends in West London in a town called Ealing, and they live in a lovely town. And they are like internet friends. Like, they are friends that that let's see, they are Facebook friends of people that I met online when I was blogging back in the day. And I would not have met them previously, except that, as you may recall, last Christmas, I went to the Canary Islands for just a random reason.
Right. I remember.
And
That's a great story.
when I was there, I like checked in on the Facebook app, and this Facebook friend, who is a Scottish woman, was saying, "Hey, we just checked into this hotel in the Canary Islands," and I looked, and it was like 5 miles from where I was, and so I reached out to her, and I was like, "Hey, for some reason we're in the same spot right now. We should get together."
No shit.
And so we did, and so like I met her down there last Christmas, but then like they live within underground tube distance to London, and so I said, "Hey, would would you like me to come visit you and sleep a couple nights in your house?" and they were like, "Sure, come on, we've got plenty of rooms."
Oh, isn't
and
that great?
so I did, and that was lovely because it saved me lots and lots of money of staying in a place near.
But wouldn't
London.
that have been company money, or are you doing this on the side?
No, this is not company money.
It's you. It's your. Did you have to take time off to do it?
Well, we'll get into that in a moment. So I went and spent. So I left Saturday morning at like my flight was at 7 a.m. and it was a 2-hour flight. And because I was going to a time zone that is west of me, even though geographically it's east, it was so I arrived in London at like 8 a.m. and it was funny. I walked through like when I got to immigration, because obviously we have to go through immigration because Brexit, and now like it's a different country. When I got to immigration, there was nobody. There was this huge space where there was like room for all of these lines and stuff, and there was nobody there. And I asked the person working there, I said, "Are we the first flight?" And she said, "No, love, you're the third." It's like, okay. But there was just no line for the immigration, and I walked right through. I scanned my passport and whatever. And then I took the tube, and so on my way, so I took the train from Gatwick up to Victoria Station to take the tube over west. And when I got to Victoria Station, I thought, I'm going to spend some of my pounds that I have saved from 17 years ago when I used to live in the UK, because I have a whole little box full of like almost 400 pounds that I have saved up.
$200?
No, 400 pounds is more like $500.
Oh,
and so I went to pay for this coffee, and I handed over my coins, and the baristas were like, "No, love, this is not money anymore. Like, whatever this is not money." And I was like, "Okay, fine. I'll pay with my phone on the contact list." And so I did that, and they said, "You got to take this to a bank." So anyway,
Did you?
So later I get to their house. So like I arrive at their house at like 9 a.m. and they're like just waking up because it's 9 fucking a.m. But I have traveled from another country, and so we sit around and have coffee and talk for a while, and then we go out to go see some stuff. But the let's see, the money thing is super interesting. So everyone told me, yeah, this money is not really money anymore. You have to go to a bank to like change this into real money. And because I had these old paper bills, like I had like 340 pounds. And so later in the week, I go to a bank in Covent Garden, and I go to the NatWest Bank, and I wait in line for a while, and then the lady, it's my turn, and I say, "Hey, can I convert these into actual pounds?" And she's like, "Nah, this is not money. Like, you maybe need to go to the Bank of England. Let me go check with my supervisor if this is real money, because also I had Scottish pounds." Because when I had emptied my bank account, I had done so in Scotland when I was on my Scottish tour with our friends, Jacob and Paul and Jeff, when we were on our Scotland visit in 2005. So she comes back and she says, "Nah, we can't do this. You need to go to the Bank of England." She said, "The Bank of England is, here's the direction to the Bank of England. It's 45 minutes away. No, it's 35 minutes away. It closes in 45 minutes. So I'm like, okay, fine. I walk. I get to the Bank of England, and there's a guy there at the front door that says, "Why do you want to come in here?" And I said, "Well, I need to change this old money." And he says, "We've been closed for 2 hours because there's a 2-hour queue to get like there's a line to get serviced here. And it's been 2 hours long and there are still people waiting. So no, go away." He said, "Go to the local post office." I said, "Okay." Post office is 10-minute walk away. So I walk over to the post office, and I get there, and they say, after I take a number and wait for a while, they say, "Okay, we can change up to 300 pounds. And I had like 340 or whatever it was. And I said, 300 pounds, like every what? Like, can I just go back out the door and come back in and like have another 300? And she said, every 2 years. I was like, fuck. Okay. And so she proceeds.
So you gave up 21 pounds, which
she proceeds to take down my passport information. Like, they're very anti money laundering because apparently someone figured out how to print the previous paper money in a way that like made it useful to like do that. And so anyway, I ended up changing my 300, and when I was done, like I was like, "Oh, thank you very much." And she said, "I'm not supposed to have accepted this Scottish bullshit, but I have, so you're welcome."
Like, okay, wow! So you walked away with what, $400?
300 pounds, which is 300 GBP, which is $362 US now.
Good, that's a nice bit of pocket change to carry around.
Yeah, but it's pocket change in a place that no longer needs pocket change. So the whole time I was there, everything was paid with by the phone or by my watch. Just
and they wouldn't take cash.
No, I mean they would, but why do I want coins and shit in my pocket when I can just be like,
because you don't want $321.
so the most perfect use case for contactless payment is the subway entry and exit.
Or
Like
tips.
before, 20 years ago, when I visited London, you had to go and put in your coins, and you would buy a little ticket that would be good for like a week. And for this week, you could like take that and like slide it through the machine, and it would pop up on the other side, and you would like be able to go through the turnstile. Now you can just take your phone and touch it to the thing, and it like
Right,
opens.
of course.
And it's all managed by, like, you don't have to think about paying for anything
You could have been
later
a
or
big
whatever
tipper.
they charge you. Who knows?
Could have been
But,
a big tipper. People who are taking tips would take that money in a heartbeat.
You know what else I saw? I saw someone. I saw a busker in the underground subway. Playing. A guitar, playing Bob Dylan or whatever, and he had both a place where you could throw coins, but also a little thing where you could go and tap your phone to give him £3. What a clever, like, I've never seen that before, but what a clever idea. Because these days we don't use cash. Like, the whole time I was in England, I never once used cash.
I just went on a trip and paid for everything with cash, including my hotel room and my meals and my beer, because I did a job that paid $600, and I took the job so I could take this trip with my significant other. And I thought, you know what? I got the money. I got out $600 in cash, and we got in the car, and I paid for cash all along the way because it felt like a better connection between the work I did and the trip.
I mean, if that's how it connects you. So I have other stories about this particular trip. The conference. So normally, for a tech conference, the kind of thing that I go to, it's not even questioned whether or not, as a speaker, my travel and hotel will be paid for. Like, that's like given. Like,
Common, yeah.
you tell me where the hotel is that all the speakers are staying, and so that I can like plan my visit while I'm there. And this particular conference, the organizer, and I say organizer because it seems that there was just this one woman that was organizing everything. And normally a conference of this size has a whole team of organizers, but it seems that there was just this one woman. She said, so my first red flag was like 6 months ago, we'll say, she said, "Hey, do you want to come and talk at this conference?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah." And then 4 months ago, like 2 months after that, I was just like chatting on Twitter about how like, oh yeah, I only go to conferences where they like pay for me to go. And I got a DM from her, a direct message from her saying, "Hey, you just said this thing about how like all the conferences pay for you to go there. Could you like maybe take this down, because we're not actually paying for all the speakers to go to this conference." And that was like, whoa, okay, that's super fucked up. But
And she didn't think to mention that to you?
no, I mean, she like,
That's ridiculous.
so like I was like, okay, fine, I'll remove that tweet because that tweet meant nothing to me. Fine. And but then it got weirder and weirder and weirder, where like she said, okay, so like a week before the event, she had not decided on which hotel the speakers were going to be in. She was like still negotiating between two hotels.
Oh Lord.
And right, exactly. It was like a super like, what is going on here? And finally she said, okay, we've booked this super fucking fancy hotel next to Covent fucking Garden, where it's going to cost us £200 a night for you to stay there. By the way, the speaker dinner is on Wednesday, and then it's a 2-day conference, Thursday and Friday. So, but we can only afford one night of hotel for you. Which night would you like that to be? Like the Wednesday night, or the Thursday night, or the Friday night? And I was just like, what? No.
What a pain
What are you
in
doing?
the ass.
And so I did not respond to that. And then later
the last night because you were
later she came back and was like, no, actually we found money for we can afford for 2 nights for you. But like already I had gone off on my own and booked like an Airbnb, just like a single fucking room near the venue where I knew I could like sleep.
I thought you were staying with friends.
No. Well, so I was staying with friends, but the idea, like I looked at the train schedule, and it would require that I like leave the after party super early to make it all the way back to my friend's house. So I decided I'm gonna book a place near the venue so I can just like
second night
be for 3 nights for the after the speaker dinner, and then after the first day, and after the second day.
So you got there Tuesday?
Huh?
You got there Tuesday?
I went there on Saturday. And
oh my God. So you were at your friend's house for 3 days even before all the...
Yes.
Oh, I see. This is quite a trip then.
Indeed. So that was... but like my 3 days of Airbnb costs less than 2 days of this expensive apartment, expensive hotel that they wanted to put us up in. So anyway, it turns out that all the speakers were in different hotels because they were forced to like choose their own hotel and hope for the best.
Was everybody bitching about it or no?
Yes, and there were more problems. They chose like the whole idea of the conference. Okay, so they said there were going to be 100+ speakers, and it turns out big. after all this shit shook out, there were like 80.
How many?
80. 80. But there were supposed to be 3,000 attendees, and in the end there were 300.
Oh no.
Oops. So like it was a way smaller venue than expected, and way smaller.
They got their ass kicked.
Thing, and they also promised. And they asked sponsors specifically to say, hey, can you give us extra money so that we can pay for the audiovisual team to like live stream this? And they were selling live streaming tickets until the very end. And turns out there were no cameras in any of the talks. And it was like, what are you doing selling live tickets even now that those of us that are here can see that there are no cameras? Anyway, it was a big
were they ripping off?
It feels very fraudulent. It feels very much like the sort of Trumpian
more than negligent.
I will not pay people that I have contracted to do work for me because no. And it turns out that like the organizer's company, like you can go back and look at the records in the UK of her company, and it's like it's changed names a bunch of like 50 times in the last 10 years, and it's like super
Never again.
shady.
So your talk was supposed to have X number and ended up with Y number?
So look, I personally don't really care because I was giving a talk that I have given. This is the 5th or 6th time I've given this talk this year. I don't really give a fuck. Nor do I care that if it was broadcast or not, because I've already given it in a way that I'm proud of having it broadcast. So I don't really care. My room at the time was pretty full, which is, I guess a compliment to me, but I don't really care that it wasn't recorded. But like what I really get out of these conferences is hanging out with the other important people that are also speakers.
Yeah.
Like that's my bread and butter. Like I get out of, it's all networking. And so I got that out of this conference. I probably would not that anyone fucking listens to this drivel, but I probably would not be saying these things if I had not already been paid for my travel and expenses. So like right. She wired me that money, and so I don't feel like before I got an email from the event ticketing thing that said, "Hey, give your rating for this conference. This rating will be shared with the organizer." And I was like, "No, not until I get paid, because I don't trust this person. It felt like the kind of person that if I say something bad, she's not going to pay me."
Because there was no trust there. What did you, so you got paid and then you scored them, what, a 4 or a 3 out of 10?
No, this would be a 1 or a 2 out of 5.
Well, same.
Yeah. So, but I have not scored them. But
and
it was just a big. But like also, like because they were asking like real money, like from companies like Google, saying, "Hey, we're going, like, if you promise that you're going to reach 3,000 attendees and you get a sponsor thinking that, oh, we will sponsor your conference because we're going to reach that many people," and then you show up with a 10th of that many people, like, I think there's going to be like lawsuits and stuff, because like that's not okay to lie like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was a big sort of clusterfuck, but
you didn't charge a fee. You just did it. Correct?
No. I mean, normally I will go and do these things if my expenses are paid.
Sure.
And this time there was a risk that my expenses were not going to be paid, but then finally they were, and so whatever.
Well, that happens time to time.
But I got to go and meet my cool friends in London, and I took a train up to Oxford for one night, and I spent a night up there with another friend. And
what'd you do in Oxford? You drank a pint?
I had a pint of ale. Yes. Yeah. So I have a friend. So I have a colleague in Oxford that works at my company, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, can I come up and like if you have a bed that I can spend the night in? Like, I don't want to go up 2 hours to Oxford and then 2 hours back in the same day. And he said, nah, not really. We just have, no, we can't, you can't sleep here. And so then I asked another friend, and he was like, yeah, we have a spare bedroom. And so I went up and spent a night with him.
Cool.
So that was nice.
How long since you'd seen them?
I had never seen my colleague. Like, he's been with my company for 6 months, and I had never met him. But my other friend I had met. I met him in San Francisco. No. Salt Lake City when I was there in May. So I met him before. But it was nice to see his house and his wife
too,
and
wasn't it?
his cats. What?
Wasn't Salt Lake City kind of a boondoggle?
Salt Lake City was nice. That was a good conference.
Oh, I thought there was something went on with the after parties, maybe, or.
Oh yeah. So I mean, the after parties there were like super.
You had to slouch
nothing.
around to drink a beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was like there were no.
So switching gears, you know what happened today in the news with our favorite former president? Supreme Court said, you know what? You got no grounds to keep your income taxes from Congress. You must give them income taxes. And it is going to be an absolute shit show, because what this means is that it's already known he overevaluated his properties to get loans and then reported them on taxes. He undervalued them, and it's all in writing. The guy who was the manager of the company just was sentenced to prison, and he said, I did all this for my own benefit. I didn't do it for Trump's benefit at all, which is ridiculous on its face. But they got the goods on him, and they named this Jack. What's his name? Jack something or other, who's Jack White, I think, is the new special prosecutor. Maybe it's Jack Black. I don't know which it is. But this guy, man, singers. Listen to this. His job that he quit to take this job was he was the lead lawyer on Holocaust victims for The Hague. He was the prosecutor for political, henchmen and whatnot. Imagine that, leaving The Hague in war crimes to go evaluate Trump. It's going to be like, this is cake. Indictments are coming, man. He's going to be indicted for his handling of secret documents. They got to prove that there was harm. Imagine this. If I recall this number, there are 10 sleeves within which are held this top secret documents, confidential documents. There are a number of sleeves that are labeled as high priority, high confidentiality. There's nothing in them.
What?
The information's gone.
Nothing up my sleeve, man.
And some of it is about the nuclear capability of all these other countries. And one lawyer said, who knows the stuff, said, when you understand the value of these documents, you understand why he took those. Those are the ones for which you'll get the highest price on the open market. Knowing other countries' nuclear capability, without a doubt, exception, that is the stuff that's worth the most money.
That's assuming he's clever, which I don't buy.
He doesn't need to be clever. He only needs to be smart. And he's smart enough to have gotten everything done that he's gotten done so far, including eluding the authorities for his entire career.
Right.
So, evil, smart, lunatic, nonsensical, all these adjectives apply. But there's something to say about not getting caught for all these years. Not once. no punishment, no accountability.
Yeah. So I have so remember last time we talked about who was going to win the Congress and the Senate and the House and whatnot, Dems, Republicans, whatever. I have a confession. There's this website that they're about to shut down called predictit.org. And you can, on that website, in the interest of academia, you can bet on outcomes of elections and stuff. And so I, like 4 years ago when I was playing around with this, I had put like $100 in, and I was betting on stuff, and I had forgotten about the website. But it turns out I had like $175 like available to gamble. And so when the results were coming in, I was, because I know that this website is probably going to be shut down within a year. I was just like, fuck it. I haven't thought about this money in a long time. I said, I'm going to put all of this on Dems winning both the House and the Senate.
Too bad.
But hold on. But at the time that I bought into this, it was so the way that this website works is the price is between $0 and $1. So depending on what people think the probability is, that's like what the price is. And at the time I bought this, it was at 10 cents. 10 cents to buy in. And if the Dems won both, then it would pay out, 10x that at $1. So I put all my money into this, and it went up and down and up and down. And finally I said, okay, look, at 25 cents, I'm going to set a limit order. If it gets up to 25, then I'm going to sell. And so anyway, it did make it up to that, and I did make like $300 on this nonsense.
That's great.
So
that's fantastic.
So anyway, that is that will cover our previous costs for the past couple months of this show. But patreon.com/happy hour, we can help. So anyway, it's kind of fun, like those markets, like the prediction markets, where depending on what happens in the news, like, things become things become very popular or expected to happen, and then they don't, or they do, or they don't. And anyway, it's kind of a silly Las Vegas thing that you can do legally for some reason. But that sparks me remembering this movie I tuned into with Ryan Reynolds and Ben Mendelsohn, the Australian who you remember from The Other. Played the detective, and we remarked about these Australian accents that people hit, and they're both gamblers, and Mendelsohn is a gambleaholic, and is convinced that Ryan Reynolds is his good luck charm, and they strike up a friendship that's kind of based on that. And I watched enough of it to be thoroughly impressed with Mendelsohn, as I always am, but not particularly impressed with Reynolds. I'd moved on to something else. It seemed like it was going to get laborious. I wanted something light. But it's an interesting thing about
betting, and one of the things they did was, I want to go. No, I want to stay. I want to go. I want to stay. Listen, if the next person who walks out of the men's room wears glasses,
Right.
we stay. If they don't, we go. Guy comes out with glasses, and of course the winner says it's a sign. Good luck ahead, this and that. And indeed it was. I'm going to have to bow out. I'm in trouble here. You'll have to edit this out, but I'm sick.
Yeah.
I just got hit with something. My throat, my head. I got to lay down. But there should be no indication of that in the recording up till now.
Yes, I will pretend that was not a thing. So.
Yeah, I tell you too, and you don't need to put this on the air. You can if you want, but a fella I met who was a good guy, Danny Jones, just got murdered in Detroit.
Fuck.
This past weekend in what may be a carjacking. But he had gotten out of prison after doing some time, and he was a leader in the organizing work that I was part of, and I met him and liked him right away and helped him. He was an MC for this event, and I helped him out. He had some questions about how to do it, and I've done a lot of that, so I told him, and he reacted to it well. And later, we drank some beer, and with a bunch of us eating pizza, and he got all real red cheeks. It must have been from the beer, or, as I remarked to a colleague, from the attentions of a certain volunteer who had her eyes on him.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew he had a good night that night. But anyway, he's like, I don't know, 38 years old, something like that.
Fuck.
So here's to Danny.
Well, Danny.
On a sad note, hey, you have a great holiday, man.
You too, man.
Great holiday. I got a birthday coming up.
Goodbye.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get one of those little synthesizers that I've recorded on at Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright.
There'll be some of that in your future, you lucky dog. All right.
Okay, that's it for episode number 167. You can find the show notes with some links to some of the things we talked about at happyhour.fm/167. You can help support the show at patreon.com/happyhour. And I hope you all have a lovely Thanksgiving holiday. We'll see you next week.